Good morning, everyone. We're going to continue with the chapter Basic Principles for Designing a Removable Partial Denture. Last class, we were discussing about what are the factors we need to consider whenever we are designing a removable partial denture for a particular condition. So, what exactly you are supposed to see, if at all, if you have to consider that particular type of major connector or that particular type of direct retainer, or how many indirect retainers have to be placed, what kind of teeth has to be replaced. I mean the teeth which we are going to replace, with what kind of material we need to fabricate those missing teeth with. All these things has to be considered whenever we are designing a removable partial denture. So last class we were seeing about those all the factors which we have to consider. The first one being which of the arches, whether we are restoring a maxillary arch or whether we are restoring a mandibular arch. And in that, we are supposed to see about how the occlusal plane is faring, that is the orientation of the occlusal plane. If why we need to see, or why we need to uh, consider the occlusal plane orientation, because the cant, it can cause the difference in the plane of occlusion on either side of the arches. If they are different, they can cause problems in settling of the denture base, or sliding of the denture bases, or tipping of the denture bases whenever the mandibular movements occur. So we have to consider about orientation of occlusal plane, the space available for restoring remaining teeth. That is, if we have uh, a missing teeth provision for three teeth and we have less space, that can cause uh, an abnormal occlusal relationships between adjacent teeth whenever we are replacing teeth. So how exactly we are supposed to regain that space back? So all those things have to be considered. And the arch integrity, we have tooth morphology that has to be considered whenever we are designing a removable partial denture. That's because in certain situations where we have a class 5 condition, so the lateral incisor will become a primary abutment for placement of resi. So if in such conditions, because the tooth morphology is mesodistal width of a lateral incisor is less, and the root length also is less than that of central incisor or canine, so placing a direct uh, uh, principal rest on top of such type of teeth can cause problems for the abutment teeth. So we need to add extra support whenever we are designing removable partial denture for such type of conditions. So in that condition, the configuration or the morphology of the principal abutment tooth has to be considered whenever we are placing a principal rest on top of the uh, an abutment tooth which has less crown root ratio. So that has to be considered. Whether the denture is entirely tooth supported or tooth and tissue supported. So what are factors we need to consider whenever a removable partial denture is it replaces part of teeth or part of teeth and tissue. So how many clasps have to be given? There are three different types of variations. We have uh, quadrilateral configurations of direct retainers. We have triangular configuration or tripodal configuration. We have bilateral configuration. So there are three different types of class positionings, or conditions wherein how many direct retainers and at what positions they have to be given. So depending upon the number of teeth missing and where exactly they are missing, whether the removable partial denture we are designing, whether it's completely tooth supported or tooth and tissue supported. So all these factors have to be considered for designing the number of clasps and the position of direct retainers. number of direct retainers and position of direct retainers. Whether we are supposed to give a gingerly approaching direct retainer or whether we are supposed to give an occlusively approaching one. So all these factors plays a major role whenever we are designing removable partial dentures. So which arch? The first one, whether it's maxillary, mandibular. Then we have to see for orientation of the occlusal plane. Then we have to see about morphology of abutment teeth. We have to see about consistency of soft tissues, whether a removable partial denture is both teeth and tissue supported, or tissue supported alone, or it's an all teeth supported removable partial denture. And how many direct retainers? We have quadrilateral configuration. That comes when we have a condition where we have a class 3 situation with an extra modification space. So in that condition, we have to give 4 direct retainers at 4 corners because we have teeth both anteriorly and posteriorly to edentulous spaces on either side of the arch. That is class 3 modification 1. So in such type of conditions, we place direct retainers at the 4 corners of the edentulous spaces, uh, right next to the edentulous spaces. So that gives us a quadrilateral configuration. That means a squarish configuration for direct retainer designing. The second one is a tooth and tissue supported condition wherein we can use a tripodal configuration. So that comes in class 2 condition where we have unilateral edentulous space with teeth only in the anterior segment to the edentulous space. So in that condition, that's a class 2 condition, we can give 3 direct retainers, 2 in the anterior section and 1 in the posterior section. So that will make a tripodal configuration of direct retainers or class designs where we'll be giving 3 direct retainers and extra support for a missing direct retainer. To make it a quadrilateral thing, we add one more indirect retainer instead of direct retainer. So that is a tripodal configuration. Then in entirely tissue supported one, we have only, in a class 1 situation where we have only support in the anterior section and posteriorly we have 2 edentulous saddles on either side. In such type of conditions, we can give only 2 direct retainers on principal abutment teeth at the corners. So that will make a bilateral configuration for class designs. So that pictures I'll be showing as the class goes on. So how exactly we are placing those direct retainers. But you can remember these are 3 different types of direct retainer configurations what we come across whenever we are designing the removable partial denture. So quadrilateral, tripodal and bilateral configurations. Then what type of or how many different types of indirect retainers? Then if any modification for abutment teeth that has to be done, if we have a smaller teeth with less mesiodistal less mesiodistal width or less crown root ratio, how exactly we are supposed to increase the support for direct retainers or removable partial dentures. So how exactly we are supposed to modify the contour of the tooth by giving a crown, something like that, or an onlay. So we can change the contour of the tooth so that it suits better for that particular type of direct retainer. So all these factors we have to consider whenever we are designing a removable partial denture. The next comes the type of major connector. The major connector for the particular condition. Like if at all we have a class 4 situation, we can always go in for an anteroposterior palatal strap. Or if at all we have a class 3 condition which a modification space or a typical class 3 condition, we always can go with a palatal strap major connector. Or if the edentulous span or the number of teeth we are replacing comes to a single unit, we can always go in for a palatal bar. If it is a maxillary thing, we can always go with a palatal bar major connector. So depending upon how many teeth we are replacing and at what or in what position or area of the arch we are replacing, we can always change the design of the major connector. So you always have to remember one thing whenever you are designing a major connector. It should be always rigid. A major connector should never flex. That is the main or important ideal requirement for any major connector. Whenever you are designing a major connector, what you have to remember is it has to be rigid, whether it is a mandibular major connector or a maxillary major connector. So, and the number of teeth we are replacing or number of units we are replacing, or depending upon the length of the edentulous span, we always have to change our design of the major connector to make it more rigid so that it can distribute the forces or the loads better onto the supporting areas. If the major connector itself is flexible, then there will be always a chance that lateral forces are dissipated directly onto the heart tissue. So that can cause tipping or tilting of the principal abutments. So a major connector has to be always rigid. So that is the most important thing you have to remember whenever you are designing a removable partial denture. And the patient's past experience, if at all patient has already used a removable partial denture, so the design of the removable partial should emulate same as a older one, so that that will feel much comfortable for the patient because he has been using that type of removable partial denture for quite some time. So if at all if you can incorporate the same design into a newer removable partial denture, a patient will feel much better or he'll have much comfort because he has been used to that particular design of the removable partial denture. So all these factors we need to remember. So what are the requirements or what a removable partial denture, a good or well designed removable partial denture can do? So it spreads all the occlusal loads both equally between the hard and soft tissues if at all removable partial denture is a class 2 or a class 1 type, because it derives a support both from soft tissue and hard tissue. If it is a class 3 condition, the entire load is borne by only the hard tissue. That means the teeth, because we have a quadrilateral configuration. So all your missing units are present between the four corners or in between the four direct retainers. So all the support is derived from the principal abutment teeth themselves. So there is no need for the edentulous space or the edentulous soft tissue of the edentulous space to provide any support in such type of conditions. So it must maintain the health uh, and integrity of the arch. That means it should not cause any harmful forces or untoward forces on principal abutment teeth, because a clasp assembly or a clasp, a direct retainer has a retentive arm and a reciprocal arm. So retentive arm helps in retaining removable partial denture, which has to change in its change in its topography or anatomy before it goes into the undercut area, because that terminal tip or terminal third of the retentive arm, it has to flex so that when a removable partial denture is seated into the patient's mouth, if it has to go into an infrabulge area, it has to flex and it has to go. So because of this flexion, there is always going to be horizontal forces on the principal abutment teeth. So these horizontal forces are negated with the help of reciprocal arm. So we have retentive arm opposing a reciprocal arm, or a reciprocal arm opposing exactly the position of the retentive arm. So these arms, both of them together, they oppose each other's forces, so that there is no or zero harmful or lateral forces on the principal abutment tooth. So whenever we are designing a removable partial denture, we should always design our direct retainer in such a way that the harmful forces are always negated. So that maintains the integrity of the arch. So that prevents the tipping of principal abutment teeth either mesially or distally, or buccally or palatally, in any of the directions. And the foremost but not the least, it must restore the masticatory efficiency and appearance of the missing portion of the soft and hard tissues. So whenever a removable partial denture is designed for the patient, the most important thing along with comfort is mastication, the efficiency of the replaced teeth, how exactly they're helping in function, so that a patient can masticate his or her food. So all these things we have to remember. So what are the essentials of designing a removable partial denture? At what step or at what stage we need to see this? We need to design a removable partial denture. So first of all, whenever we are making whenever we have to fabricate a removable partial denture, we always make a diagnostic impression for the patient. So we cannot do this part of surveying. We cannot do any of the modifications intraorally first itself. So if at all, if a modification has to be done for the anatomy of the tooth or contour of the tooth, or if at all it has to be given a crown, always it has to be designed, and that design has to be carried intraorally, and we have to make all the modifications according to our design of the removable partial denture. And then again, we're going to make a master impression. After all the modifications, after all the crown cementations or inlay cementations or onlay cementations to change the contour of the tooth, once we finish all those modifications, then we're going to make an impression, a master impression of all the hard and soft tissues. And finally, we're going to adapt a wax pattern of removable partial denture according to our design. So you can see over here, sorry, you can see here in this slide. So once we design or draw a removable partial denture on the diagnostic model, according to those modifications, we do all the modifications intraorally, and then we make an impression, a master impression. And on top of that master model, we are going to adapt our wax pattern, and it has to be casted so that we get our removable partial denture, which can be used by the patient. So That's why we see for all these factors whenever we are designing our removable partial denture. So on the diagnostic model, you can see the design of the removable partial denture has to be drawn first. So according to this design, we do our modification. So for what all conditions we do these removable partial denture, or how exactly we are supposed to take care of the design of the removable partial denture for different conditions. Say we have three different conditions. The removable partial denture, which is being supported or which is being uh, present in between all the dental units, that is a class 3 situation where we have a removable partial denture which is supported on all teeth in itself. Then we have a condition where the removable partial denture is entirely supported by soft tissue. Say for our uh, removable partial dentures which are treatment dentures, or which are temporary dentures, or which are immediate dentures. These removable partial dentures, they have the support entirely from mucosa. Then we have removable partial denture which are supported partly by teeth and partly by soft tissue. That comes under class 1, class 2 and class 4 situations. Class 4 situation is nothing but it is a reverse of class 1 situation. So in for all these three conditions, we have a removable partial denture getting their or deriving their support partly from hard tissue and partly from soft tissue. So only condition where a removable partial denture is entirely tooth supported is class 3 and class 3 modifications. Okay. So if you have such a conditions, so all the rest seats are supported by either occlusal rest or cingulum rest or incisal rest. So we have a rest seat, or we have a rest directly placed on top of any of these occlusal surface or cingulum or incisal at four corners. So that is entire teeth supported removed partially. So when you have certain condition where we have hard tissues at each and every corner, so what exactly you are supposed to see? So we have to see first the periodontal health of the supporting units, the crown root morphology. How exactly? Either we have short roots, long roots. What is the position? How many roots are there? If it is a if it's a first premolar, we have two roots. If it's a maxillary molar, we have three roots. If a mandibular molar, we have again two roots. So depending upon the tooth and depending upon its support, how better a tooth can support or act as a principal abutment for that particular type of removable partial denture. So those things has to be considered. So the periodontal health and the crown root ratios, then morphologies has to be considered, the type of support around the tooth, the location of the tooth, the occlusal relationships of the opposing teeth, whether uh, the abutment, principal abutment teeth, they are having any opposing teeth or not. Then uh, anatomies. All these things have to be considered in class 3 situation. So we have to know about the periodontal health of the supporting teeth, number of teeth, type of teeth, position of teeth, type of teeth in the sense whether we are replacing incisal teeth, incisors, or posterior or anterior teeth or posterior teeth, whether we are replacing canines, whether replacing central incisors, whether we are replacing molars, and the size, whether we are replacing eighths or not, whether we are replacing till sixth only, or whether we are replacing only till 7, how many teeth and the position of the teeth, and their periodontal health, opposing teeth, the relation of opposing teeth, occlusal planes, if any modification has to be made, the anatomy of the teeth, anatomy of the crowns, uh, whether the teeth or tooth are having uh, single rooted teeth or multi rooted teeth, all these things, and the configuration of root of those teeth, all these things has to be considered whenever we are designing a removable partial denture for a class 3 situation. If the entire removable partial denture is tooth supported, so these are the factors we need to look into before designing a removable partial denture for a class 3 condition. So these are all the uh, requirements for hard tissue removable partial dentures. The next one, if the mucosa supported partial denture that I was talking about, a removable partial denture which is entirely supported by the underlying soft tissue alone. So this type of condition we see whenever we are giving a removable partial denture for a patient for temporary purpose or for a treatment, or an immediate removable partial denture. Immediate removable partial in the sense eventually immediately after extraction. That means before giving any definitive removable partial denture or definitive partial denture, we can always give a removable partial denture which is for a temporary purpose, which is for to solve the patient's problem aesthetically. So in that type of condition, what we need to see, the length of the residual alveolar ridge, the quality of the underlying tissue from which we are deriving the support for a removable partial denture, the contour of the residual ridge, that is size, height, shape, the type of impression, the accuracy of impression what we have recorded, the adaptation of denture base, how better a denture base is adapting to the underlying soft tissue, and the anticipated occlusal load, and how simple we can make the design. So all these factors have to be considered whenever we are designing a removable partial denture for tissue supported partial denture. If the removable partial denture we are designing is both tooth and mucosa supported, or both hard and soft tissues, so how exactly we are supposed to design a removable partial denture? So when we have this type of situation where a removable partial denture is deriving its support both from hard and soft tissues, one thing we need to remember is we have two different types of tissues with different compressibilities. We have two different type of tissues with different compressibilities. That I can show you a picture so you can. This is the picture. In this first picture, we have a hard tissue, that is a tooth, which is present with a root in the socket, and we have a periodontal ligament all around the root. And right next to it, we have an edentulous area. So this edentulous area, we have a cortical and membranous bone which is covered by a mucosa. We have a keratinized tissue and we have a loose tissue in the sulcus. So whenever we are designing a removable partial denture for this type of situation, that is class 1, class 2 and class 4 situations, we have a part of removable partial denture lying on top of the mucosa. So when a load is applied vertically, the compressibility of the soft tissue is different from the compressibility of the tooth in itself. So if a periodontal membrane, because of the movement in the periodontal ligament, once a load is applied, the movement of tooth in the socket vertically, it will be around 0.25 plus or minus 2.1 millimeters. That is a movement of 100 microns of movement in the socket vertically. So when you clench, a tooth moves for about 100 microns in the socket. At the same time, the compressibility of the soft tissue or the underlying mucoperiosteum is about 2 millimeters, where zero point 0.1 and where 2 millimeters. So that is a compressible difference in compressibility of soft tissue on the edentulous ridge and the tooth in the socket. So because of this variation, you will have a seesaw movement at the principal abutment tooth. So more amount of forces are given, or tipping forces or lateral forces are given, horizontal forces are given to the hard tissue rather than that of soft tissue. So how we are going to compensate for this difference in compressibility? So how we are going to compensate for difference in the compressibility of the tissues both between hard tissue and soft tissue? So for that thing, we have to add indirect retainers to the design of the removable partial denture, so that we'll be adding more stability, we'll be preventing the movement of removable partial denture more towards the soft tissue by adding an extra support to it. So we have to add indirect retainers to our design of the removable partial denture when it is both tooth and mucosa support. So that gives a controlled distribution of load to both hard and soft tissues. So in these three different conditions, so we have to vary our design of the removable partial denture. So next class we will see how exactly we are supposed to negate these loads on, or we have to negate or equalize the load between both hard and soft tissues.